Hello, and welcome to Informatically Speaking, a Greater Delaware Valley ANIA podcast designed to promote knowledge sharing in the field of nursing informatics, locally, nationally, and globally within our unique industry. At GDV ANIA, we are committed to providing opportunities for professional development with the goal of advancing nursing informatics practice. I'm your host, Constance McLaughlin. Welcome back to the Greater Delaware Valley chapter of ANIA podcast, Informatically Speaking, a podcast for nurse informaticists and informatics enthusiasts alike. In this episode, we welcome Marc Perkins-Carrillo, CNIO of Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, Florida. Welcome, Marc.
Hey, Constance. Thank you for having me. I'm really impressed with your podcast, so thank you really for having me on.
Oh, thanks. That's sweet of you to say. So tell us a little bit about yourself, so I'm not reading the bio.
So my name is Marc, and I have been a nurse for 30 years. So I ventured over. I've done a little bit of everything. I have been all over the country practicing nursing, so I think I have a good span of knowledge about what is going on around the world, around the country. And I ventured into informatics, back in the days when good old CPOE was around. And they asked me, hey, you're good with computers. You want to bring all our doctors on board with doing orders? Oh, that sounds like an easy job.
Sure.
So right into informatics I came. And so I have been advancing throughout. And now I am the Chief Nursing Informatics Officer for Moffitt Cancer Center. It's a comprehensive cancer center. And based in Florida, we were the first comprehensive cancer center in the state of Florida. And we serve about 6% of our cancer population from the state.
That's great. Thanks, Marc. That's so much better than I would have done. So you and I have known each other a long time. The last time we spoke, we were talking about AI, and it's always the buzzword, right? Everybody wants to talk about it, but I think a lot of people don't fully understand it, of course. But I thought today we could focus on automation in the nursing space versus the big, scary AI thing that kind of hovers out there. So you seem to be pretty vocal about AI. So we'll start there for now. You seem to be pretty vocal there via LinkedIn and when we talk personally too, and also current innovation. So tell us how you started gaining interest in that field and where your thoughts are right now with it. Because I think you took a couple of classes.
I did just take a course from USF and flew through that. That was a fun and interesting thing. I started thinking about AI because it became the buzzword. Everybody started hearing it, right? ChatGPT. Boom. How fast did that take off? It was the fastest takeoff of any kind of technology ever. And so people kept saying, you got to use ChatGPT. And I was like, I don't know. Do I really need to use ChatGPT? And then I started listening to it. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized we use AI every single day in our life. And people say, no, I don't use AI. I'm scared of it. I wouldn't use it. But you do. If you have any kind of virtual assistant on your phone, I'm an Apple guy. So, hey, Siri, immediately that is AI. If you have a robot that vacuums your home, that is AI. There is so much technology that we use that has AI embedded in it, and we don't think about it at all in those types of things. But when we start bringing it into healthcare, everyone goes, oh my gosh, hold on, I couldn't possibly. Well, I say that, but actually physicians go just the opposite. Physicians want it more and more and more, and they are running toward it. And what really got me excited about AI is the fact that nursing is running away from it. If you start looking at the articles about how many nurses are protesting the use of AI in their organizations, in their state, And it just baffles me, because why would we not want to take something and use it that could really help our life every single day? And so as I started thinking about this, I said, well, maybe we need to baby step it in. And that's where I started thinking about automation. And I reach out to my friends over in the finance realm of the healthcare world, and they have automations upon automations upon automation, hundreds of bots that do some task, because, as you know, healthcare is expensive and no one wants to pay for it. And so as we get more and more denials, we need bots that can help us automate this. I mean, our number of people that work in that area is astronomical. We have a small army of finance people, and that just doesn't seem right, that we have to have so many people just to get people health care that they deserve and get reimbursed. So they use lots of bots, and I started thinking, maybe we should just start with bots. What if we did stuff that nursing doesn't like to do, but we just introduced a bot that could do that? Maybe something like chart checks. I don't know about you, but longtime nurse, even back on paper. And we used to have to do those chart audits where we'd look to see if the person that had the patient before us, either the day or night shift before us, had documented all the stuff that they needed, and then alerting that that person had not done it. And it feels bad. And you have buddies, right? So you don't want to report your buddy, or you create this really tense working relationship. And what if a bot could take that away, so we don't have to do that? Or bots for message center for our clinic nurses who get tons and tons of messages every single day. And some of them could be answered by a bot. Now, I don't think that bots should be doing medical care. Let me be very clear. I think that it should queue it up for us. It should have someone that looks over it. So maybe it looks at a message and it says, oh, wow, this patient needs scheduling. Well, a nurse doesn't need to touch that. Why not? Why doesn't the bot just move it? And we put it over in the scheduling queue, and then someone gets to them faster, instead of it waiting into that message center until the end of the day when a nurse finally gets over to it and then says, oh, well, this needs to go to scheduling. Then they send it over to scheduling. It has to wait another day. We could have had that patient in. Bots are just something that we need to really be thinking about. There's so much automation out there that we just never have thought about in healthcare on the clinical side. Our other folks, they're using it.
Yeah, you're right. And you're right about the physicians, because they want more, because they see the efficiency in it. And earlier this year and last year, you're right, the protests were going on, and I think to myself, I get it. I understand that people get nervous about newer things. However, we always have to think about how we can use it, right? The machines are not taking over yet, right? That's a movie.
Not yet.
Maybe one day they will, but who knows? And hopefully we won't be here for that. But we have to, as nurses, we have to be innovative thinkers and think about how we can use this stuff, right? I mean, the vendors already have things built in to double check us and to say, are you sure you want to do this? Did you forget to reorder this? I think it's time for this. Or we can even build in decision support alerts and things like. So there are already things that can be done that have to be built. But the bots, I don't know, they're still a little bit of a mystery to me, because the first thing I think of are those alerts that we built, right? So as a builder years ago, I would build things in and say, hey, here's a reminder, here's a task, here's this is where it goes, this is how it fires, those kinds of things. So, I mean, I don't know if you know how bots work. I mean, you're smiling already.
A little bit.
How is that different though from the way that we were building before?
So, before we go there, I want to tell you one thing that I didn't think of until you started talking. And I was like, oh yeah, I should have said this. Is one of the things about AI and the bots is that a nurse needs to be at the table when they're developing these.
Oh,
we should not be having someone outside of nursing telling us what our job is and what our function and what our role and how we do our jobs. We shouldn't be having that. What we should have is a nurse at the table. Every meeting, there needs to be a nurse and needs to be someone there that represents nursing to make sure that our workflows are accounted for when we're developing these bots and we're developing AI. Very, very hard stance from my spot on that. I just can't say enough about it. But as for how bots work, so I'm going to give you one of the ones that I found very interesting. We still have a lot of paper documents that come in, results, because oddly, cancer tests are not always run at cancer centers, and they have to go to these very special labs where they get a result, they do a result, and they have to send it back. So it's sent out, and they send it over on paper, and then it gets scanned into the record. And so imagine as a nurse, and you need to be able to see these results, and you want to be able to trend stuff, but you can't trend opening up one PDF, open up another PDF, open up another PDF. And then by the time you've opened up 6 of them, you forgot what your numbers were, or if you're not writing them down. And what if you transpose them? So there's so many things that's just crazy about it. So a bot could take and use OCR and read that document, pick out the actual values, write it out to a table, then go into your EMR and write it into a certain field, and then allow you to be able to graft it. So I think that there's so many things that you could do with a bot. I watched one, it was very interesting. It takes and goes out, it takes and reads a claim, and then it gets the information that it needs. It has the diagnosis from the physician on it. It goes to a website, pulls up the CPT code for that, then gets that CPT code, enters it into a billing system, and then from the billing system goes and creates an output bill and then disperses that out. So all of that was completely automated by bots. So bots don't have to just do one item. They can just keep building upon the next step and reproduce things that we do naturally.
Wow. I didn't realize that it could be programmed to go out, look for the CPT, what it needs to do somewhere else.
On a website.
So it's not just living in your EHR, in your environment.
Wow. No, we are working on one right now that's I think is amazing. And when we talk about time saving for people, so we have charge tickets. Of course, I think most everybody has a charge ticket of some sort. And so these charge tickets, nurses have to fill out, right? And so they do it in the electronic medical record. But when we're down, they don't have anything, and they have to remember all the items that they used, and then they have to go back into a system when it comes up and then charge the person. And we're like, well, that can't possibly work well. We know that that's not accurate, and we don't want to overcharge or undercharge anyone. So we created downtime forms. Well, we have got a bot that takes and reads that out of an Excel spreadsheet, takes and grabs it from there, takes it to our Compliance 360, which is our policy library, and places it in the library and replaces the form that's already there. That's the downtime version, and then automatically updates it all so that when the nurse goes in to get their downtime form, it's right there and it's the newest version.
What? So it's putting it on the actual downtime form, or is it putting it back in the EHR?
So in this situation, this one is actually, when we create a downtime form, it's done in Excel. And so we build out all of it. It takes that, it opens that Excel document. So now it's going out of wherever it was, it goes to Excel, it opens Excel, it grabs that file from a share file, and then it takes it, it reformats it into our downtime version paper form, creates a PDF of that, and then grabs that PDF and then moves it into 360. And then if there's already a file there, it knows that this is the latest version because of the date that it has on it. And it pulls that old file out, puts the new file in, and then resaves everything back to the drive.
That is amazing.
And wow. Can you imagine how much time that takes one person to do? Now granted, let's say this is not a nursing process, but this is a nurse added benefit because they know that they have the most recent form and they don't have to worry about getting a message saying you charted on the wrong form because it's always the most updated one.
Yeah. And I mean, as long as the bots are, and I can't imagine that they wouldn't, that you couldn't program them to do this, but as long as it's putting it back into a discrete field, that it's not just sitting somewhere, that it's actually useful, that you can use it like anything else that you've input later on down the road. But it would have to be marked that a bot put it there, that you didn't document that. How does that work?
No. So in this situation, this is a downtime form. So it's putting it in our compliance library, and then you go to the library, open it up, and download and print out a paper form that you're filling out. That will then eventually get rescanned in and processed through. The bot doesn't do the processing yet. That's next.
I see.
We had to solve one problem before we can solve all the problems. And that's the great thing about a bot is you start out with something and you make a bot and then you see what it's doing and you go, but how can I make it better? How can I give it a bot friend? Right? And then the bot friend gets added in, and then all of a sudden you've now taken that automation to the next level. There's just so much things that we do in nursing, and I haven't sat down and thought all of the ones out, but I'm going to sit down with my nursing staff and say, what is it that you want to solve? What is it that you hate doing that could be automated? And that's the reason I immediately thought of chart checks. There's no value in it from the nurse that's sitting at the bedside who's reviewing someone else's documentation to see if they charted. There's no value add there. And let's say a bot missed something. It's not the worst situation. It's not going to harm patient care if someone did not document something that they should have documented. So this is a low risk, and it's something that we could do first. We want to start looking at what's the lowest risk. We want to make sure that we're very safe, and then we have steps in there to make sure that we not only look at what it's doing today, but we have to go back and review it at a certain point and make sure that something hasn't changed. Because remember, bots look for whatever it was taught to do. It doesn't get smarter over time. It doesn't assimilate to the population. So if you change where something lives and it goes there, it's going to say, well, that doesn't live there anymore, so I can't do my job. And there should be a trigger. There should be a report or something that says, I can't do my job. And then someone should look at that. But I don't trust that I don't do my job is going to happen. So I feel like you should also have periodic checks that you, as an analyst, as a clinical informatics nurse, would go in and validate that our bots are still operating the way that we expect them to do. Just like you do with the code upgrade. You don't trust that when your vendor puts in a new upgrade that it's going to work the way that it was supposed to and that it doesn't break your system. I hope that you don't. That's what I would say. We spend hours upon hours upon hours, actually weeks, validating, because we know that our system is so custom, and that if we didn't do that, we would break things and we would have the potential for patient harm. We don't, because we spend the hours checking and making sure that we don't have those things happen. We don't have errors going in because of the validation. And I believe the same thing should happen. Even at a low risk bot, we should have validation that it's still working the way that you would think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, but that's really just a plug for standardizing, right? So you're not so custom. So you're not so custom. Yeah. My vendor hat pops out once in a while, right? So who builds the bots?
So it's a combination. Actual building is we have a technical team that owns the application that we build bots out of. So we have a subscription to a company, and I shouldn't probably call out company names, but we can talk offline about that if you're interested. But we have an amazing company that we recently purchased. We've had one for years that we've done with all our automation in our rev cycle side, but we were looking for latest and greatest. And this company is the latest and greatest. And so we have a tech team that sits down with you as the clinical informaticist and with our nursing staff or whoever we're building it with. So it's usually a team effort. So we talk about what's broken. What do we want to fix? What's the real need for this? We don't come in with a solution because they shoot us down if we come in with a solution. So we come in telling them what we already have a solution in mind, but we tell them what they want to hear is what's the problem. And then we have them work us through because they know the system better than we do. Just because I think I know how a bot should work doesn't mean that the bot could actually do that. So we want them to help us and build that with us. So it's a combination of a people, but the actual builder is a technical person in that team.
That's pretty cool. I didn't realize it was actual. I guess I did realize that it was actual software. So it's a bolt-on or it's a interface really to this software that you're using. Okay.
It's built into it's built into our ecosystem, and then you can tell it which applications to go into. I mean, literally, if you give it access and you tell it what to do, it will go to the internet, type in a web address, go to that web address, then it will take the word that you needed to look up and it will put it in the search field of that, and then grab a CPT code or ICD-10, whatever it is that you need it to do, as long as you've told it what you need it to do. So if you tell it that this field is always the field that it's looking for, it will go to that website, search on whatever's in that field, and then pull that data, and then you say where you want that data to be written back to.
That's pretty cool. So how does your informatics team feel about it? How do they feel about supporting that? Because it's crossing IT and the builders and all that. What does that look like?
Oh, they're excited. Let me tell you. So we actually carved out 2 positions under mine. It's under what we call our EHR code upgrade and automation team. And so that's where we're actually putting them. And so we have two people in that area, and they're working on all kinds of automation, not just for nursing, but they're actually trying to automate my team and how we find stuff. I don't know how many of you use SharePoint or some other kind of filing structure. Yeah, everybody loves the little SharePoint, right? But my team is really diving into it and really understanding what the capabilities of SharePoint are. And so they're creating automations inside of SharePoint and metadata that you can find stuff easier. And it's just really amazing. They sit down, they brought me in, they were like, we don't like our SharePoint site. And I was like, neither do I. How about that? And they said, we can make it better. And I said, all right, you're going to have to prove to me you can make it better before I'll let you blow up where I know everything is. And so they showed me, and I said, wow, this is just absolutely amazing. It moves stuff in folders, and as it's completed, there's ways to complete items, and it moves it from one to an archive folder. Just amazing stuff. And you don't have to do any work. You don't have to go in and right click on it and select move and tell it what folder to go to and hope that you get it in the right folder and that you didn't pick the wrong one. Just by hitting resolve or something, archive, or there's some buttons that you click, and it just automatically moves everything. So,
or hope that you remember where it is next time. That's me. I don't remember where I put anything anymore. It's too many files.
But these in this situation, these are things like workflow design sheets, talking about what the design spreadsheet. And so every change that we do, we design it out on a spreadsheet, and we document all of the history around it, why the change was made, how the change was made, and when the change was made. And then the next time there's a change to that, they pull the exact same design document, and then they update that design document, and it goes through. So there's versioning of it all the way through, so you know the long history. So when someone comes to you and says, well, we want to change it to this, and you're like, hey, that was the way it was 3 years ago, and it didn't work because of this. You have that historical knowledge that most organizations don't have, because people like me leave, and I took the knowledge that I had of how the system was filed away, and then all of a sudden you're left with a deficit. So in this process, you're able to search on a keyword or metadata and be able to find the latest version of this and start working off of it. I think it's
neat.
pretty ingenious, and I was super excited when they told me. So we're looking at everything we can do with automation. How do we have some bot, some kind of automation do this work for us? Because
Mhm.
let's be honest, you're not getting more people. You've got to figure out how to do more with less. And so you've got to use your technology to do that.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Wow, we could talk about this for hours, I am sure. My goodness. So, where do you think we need to be cautious with this
Cautious.
kind of technology? Yeah.
So I'll switch back to AI for a second on this. I think that anything that touches a patient, that gives patients information without some kind of proofing or verification from a nurse. So there are a couple of organizations out there that are doing message center messages where bots are actually crafting the messages ready, geared up for the nurse, and the nurse then proofs it, makes changes to it if they need, and sends it. So that way you have that second set of eyes. I don't think we should be having um, bots give medical advice about, well, your rash doesn't sound that bad, so you should just stay at home and just, put some ice on it. It shouldn't do those things without someone going over it. So I really think we have to be cautious there. And again, you're going to see that right away if you have a nurse sitting at the table, because they're going to tell you, whoa, 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 we would never say something like that. So why would we do that? So let's definitely have a human in the loop in that situation. But I will tell you that patients actually like the drafts done by the AI better than they do from nurses and doctors. It actually has more empathy. It's not frazzled at the end of the day when it's writing these messages back. So it's I think we have to be cautious when we're doing that. I just spoke at ONS recently, and I talked about AI, and I was on stage with some really amazing ladies that helped me along with AI and discussing it. And my section was about what are we doing with it in healthcare? What is it gonna do for nurses? But in particular, I actually landed on something else at the very end, and I talked about we do you know how long a radiologist typically reviews a mammogram image, a series?
I don't. No, I've not never really thought about it.
Well, AI told me, so in case
Okay.
you're wondering, and then I verified it. Let me be very clear, I did verify it.
Okay.
So according to literature, 2 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Now, some of those lesions are so microscopic and so tiny and so easy to miss. Just a simple blink of the eye. If you think about a colonoscopy, as you're moving through someone's colon, your eyes are blinking, and maybe you blinked and that was the time that there was a lesion there. Why couldn't we use AI to overread? Because it can do it just like that. Have it overread, highlight key parts that it thinks is questionable, and then have someone else definitely double check those. But even read, let's don't take away the 2 to 5 minutes. Let's let the doctor still do their job, but let's add an extra security level in, because it can detect stuff so much faster than a human. There's a organization over on the East Coast that's actually doing colonoscopies that way. And the technology is so fast that it didn't allow the doctor to have a chance to even detect a lesion before it was already alerting them. So now we're going to
Wow.
have people being, well, I hate to use the word dummied down, because we're going to be accepting of this technology because it's so much faster than we are. So they actually slowed it down, and they said, don't alert the physician unless they go past the lesion. So
Oh, okay.
that's where I see this being a complementary thing. I don't see it. I don't want my primary doctor to be an AI agent. I mean, I can Google as best as with the best of them. So, I mean, AI is faster, but I mean, I can read through literature and figure out what I feel like is my problem just as well, because I'm a nurse, right? That's what we overdo. We
Yeah.
we second guess everything and we read through it. But I think where I would say is I don't think that AI should ever be primary on anything. I think it should be a screener. It should be alerting us and helping us provide better care, but it should not be primary.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. So, Marc, this is the time goes by so fast. Every podcast, I can't believe it, and I wish we had more time, but maybe you'll want to come back and we'll talk some more. But I want to land here. I think you've given us a lot to think about, and we so appreciate your insight into this, and the work that you're doing at Moffitt is pretty amazing. I'm very impressed with the bot situation. I'll be thinking about that for a while. But what kind of advice do you have for our informaticists that are listening for all of this newer technology? What do you say to them right now about this experience?
So the one thing that I would say that I would like everyone to take away is it's your job to help nursing get on board with AI and automation. It's your job. You live in the techie world, and it's your job as a nurse to help bring people along. And so we're actually starting, it's part of our strategic plan for nursing, and we're actually going to have an AI section. And our first year is really on just changing mindset and really making sure that people feel comfortable with it before we start introducing true AI into the workforce, and really working more about the automation portion of it to get them accepting of this. We're going to do podcasts, we're going to do webinars, we're going to do WBTs, we're going to do all kinds of things. There's a whole strategic plan around it. I just wrote that using AI the other day, but that's where I think the one thing that clinical informatics needs to do a better job of is really helping people understand what AI should do and can do and cannot do, because there's so much misinformation about what they can do and what they should do. No slide on vendors, but they have a job to do, and it's to sell a product. And we have to make sure that we're making sure that that product is following guidelines established by the FDA, and that we're using AI safely in healthcare. And I just think that informatics has to play such a big role in that.
I agree. We're the front line. So educate yourself, keep reading, keep learning, and help our nurses understand what all of this newer technology is, what bots are, what AI is, and what it isn't, and protect our frontline folks.
Absolutely.
Great advice, Marc. Thank you so much, Marc. I always love talking with you. I always have such a good time. You love your job, and it's just a lot of fun. So thanks so much, Marc.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Always enjoy talking with you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you'll join us again for another session of Informatically Speaking.
This has been a production of the Greater Delaware Valley chapter of the American Nursing Informatics Association. For more information about the GDV-ANIA chapter, visit us at community.ania.org/Greater Delaware Valley/home.